and welcome to a new episode of Digital Coffee Gaming Brew. And I'm your host, Brett Dicer. You can please subscribe to this podcast on all your favorite podcasting apps. Leave a 5-star review. It really does help with the rankings and let me know how I am doing. But this week, we're going to be talking about Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake. Unfortunately, Specter Divide dev shutting down. We're going to be talking about Control 2 development. Also, Marvel Rivals Balance Patch highlights, a little bit about that. Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 3 in development, interesting. And Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 1.2 update highlights. And the Xbox AI thing, that's going to be interesting as well. And we'll be talking about the Nvidia and AMD and the third-party developers. First of all, weird stats and weird pricing and how that's all going about. So let's get on with the show. That's good. All right. So first off is Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake. So yes, it is supposedly it's going to be coming out soon. It is basically going to be potentially releasing this month or next month, but the announcement should be available soon-ish. We're not really sure about that. Release suggests, like I said, either this month or next month, possibly more next month. So announcement should be either this month or next month. Not really sure about that one. And then development is Virtuous Studio assisting Konami with Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater remake is reportedly involved developing the Oblivion remake. The biggest thing is that it's going to be rebuilt in the Unreal Engine 5. It's not going to be in their creation engine that they're specifically using for a lot of their games, especially this one. It's going to be in Unreal Engine. Also, there's going to be gameplay overhauls. Key gameplay systems have been substantially revamped. Blocking mechanics are inspired by Souls-like games. The stamina system has been made more forgiving during combat, and improvements to sneaking and archery systems have also been reported. The original game legacy, Oblivion, initially launched in 2006 for PC and Xbox 360, was a major hit, broadening the Elder Scrolls audience and paving the way for the massive success of Fallout 3 and Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. It also had a massive controversy with the horse armor DLC where everybody was like, what is this and why does this cost so much? It was weird way, but they fixed it and said, oops, our bad. We won't do it again. And they didn't really do it again. But yeah, it was a fun game. It was interesting. It had Patrick Stewart in it, as well as I think Sean Bean was also in the voice of it. So it was an interesting game. I actually liked it quite a bit. It had like portals and stuff. It was an interesting difference between that and Morrowind, because Morrowind was before that one. And I'm actually excited to see what they do with it and how much it's going to cost as well, because this is a remake. So it's going to be a more expensive thing than just a remaster. A remaster will cost less. A remake always costs more because they're remaking all the assets in it. But if this is the closest we're going to get to Elder Scrolls 6, then why not actually get this one too? All right, moving on to Specter Divide. So Mountaintop Studios, the developer of this one, is shutting down 6 months after the debut of its free-to-play tactical shooter Specter Divide due to insufficient revenue and active players to sustain operations. The Season 1 launch attracted 400,000 players with a peak concurrent player count of 10,000 across all platforms, which is not a lot if they're on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. That's not actually 10,000 is not a lot. Interest and revenue diminished over time, resulting in the inability to cover operational costs, funding, and financial struggles. The studio secured over $35 million across 2 investment rounds, but it eventually ran out of funding. Efforts to find a publisher, secure additional investments, or explore acquisition opportunities failed. Specter Divide will go offline within 30 days. New purchases are being disabled, and refunds for money spent post season 1 launch will be provided. The exact number of current employees is unclear, but in September 2024, 13 employees were laid off to extend the studio's substantiality efforts. The CEO, Nate Mitchell, described the team's effort as a resilient but acknowledged failure to meet market demands. Despite the setback, he expressed pride in the team's decision, dedication, and journey since the project began in 2020. This reflects broader challenges in the gaming industry where competition and evolving player expectations make sustainability difficult for some studios. Mountaintop Studios marks another example of the volatile nature of independent game development despite significant financial backing. So yeah, I played it. It was a Shroud back game. I guess I played it. It was interesting, but I just don't think it had enough to differentiate itself. And with a very crowded market, with Fragpunk coming out, with Marvel Rivals, with Overwatch 2, Apex, but Pudge is actually doing really well. Also, Arma Reforger like blowing up. And then you just got a lot of games and it just never found its niche because it was like a blend between Counter-Strike 2 in a lot of ways, but with two different bodies, I guess the best way of saying it. So it had an interesting thing, but I just don't think it was interesting enough to do anything about it. So that's the main reason why it failed. But it was interesting. The gameplay was smooth. There was nothing wrong with it. It just didn't have enough to actually sustain it. So that was the major issue that everybody had. All right, Control 2 is actually in development. So Remedy confirmed that Control 2 has officially entered full production. Currently, Remedy has 3 games in this phase. It's going to be Control 2, FPC Firebreak, a co-op game in the Control universe, formerly Project Condor. Max Payne 1 and 2 Remake enter full production in August of 2024, powered by Northlight Engine. Control 2 will use Remedy's proprietary Northlight engine, promising advancements in action, gameplay, and storytelling. The game is being developed for PlayStation, PS5, Xbox Series X and S. And if you actually played Alan Wake 2, the Lake House DLC, you basically saw elements of Control 2 in there, and that's how they announced it in a way. But not very many people play Alan Wake 2, even though everybody loved the first one. The second one kind of, well, it had Sweet Baby ink fingerprints all over it, and people do not like that, I guess, consulting firm. I don't even like the consulting firm anyways, but most of the games they touch have failed miserably. The other issue with Remedy is that they are really locked in step within Epic, and so they chose to basically make it exclusive or timed exclusive for a year or so. So that does hurt sales quite a bit because everybody's like, don't want to play on Epic Game Store. I'll go play it on Steam because I like Steam, because Steam is really good, because Steam cares about it. But it should be interesting to see what is going to happen with in Control 2. Are they going to go back to not having Sweet Baby Inc. within their development cycle, and it's not going to be quote unquote so woke, because that is a main component of what a lot of players do not like in games, and developers need to understand that this does not help. So it should be noted that just make a really great game, have good gameplay, have a good story, make sure, not like Alan Wake 2, which apparently the main character really wasn't the main character in the game. It was some black woman. Make sure the main character is the main character in the game. That's what we want to play. We play these games specifically for that character. If you make Max Payne 1 and 2 remake and Max Payne is not the main character in the game, then people are like, why am I playing this? This is a different game. That was the issue with Alan Wake 2. And they even confirmed that they haven't made up like most of their cost from the game, even though it's been out. And it's sad because I like Remedy's games. They're actually pretty fun and interesting. But man, just stick to what makes games great and you will succeed. If you don't, you will have problems. All right, moving on to Marvel Rivals Balance Patch highlights. So the patch went live on March 13th at 2 a.m. And the patch aims to maintain the current rich diversity of strategies within the game while optimizing a small number of heroes. Developers are focusing on maintaining the diverse range of strategies seen in season 1.5. That means rush comps, double flyer setups, and Vanguard heavy lineups. And here are the hero adjustments. So Human Torch is getting a buff to his primary damage output and ultimate abilities. Fire Cluster ammo increased from 12 to 14. Projectile speed increased as well. There's also going to be energy increase cost for his ultimate ability from 3,400 to 4,000. Activation wave damage increased by 10, now 80. And flame tornado damage increased from 100 to 120 per damage per second. So Iron Man's getting different adjustments. So direct damage reduced from stage 1 and stage 2 from 55 to 40, and stage 3 from 65 to 50. Spell field damage increased from stage 1 and 2 from 35 to 50, and stage 3 from 40 to 60. Similar adjustments to the Armor Overdrive version or Repulsor Blast is direct damage reduced by 5 to 50 damage, and spell field damage increased by 10 to 65. Cloak and Dagger gets health improvements. Light Force Dagger healing allies now restores 16 health up from 10, so you get 6 extra health restores. And spell field healing per hit reduced from 18 to 16, but still a net boost overall. And then the general notes is the changes are aimed to adjust specific characters without disrupting the current meta. Players have praised the Human Torch buffs as necessary due to his initial weak ultimate ability. Yeah, I played Human Torch. He's interesting. He's slower ish on the flyer thing. If you have Storm on the wind, she's actually a lot faster, but if she's on lightning, she's slower, but you have that option of switching back and forth. Iron Man is a lot faster when he's in flight mode, but when he's kind of like floating around, he's still a little faster than Human Torch. Human Torch is flight mode, which kind of is very slow. It's not really great, but it was hard to actually like hit targets with his primary fire. So it's good to see that it's getting a buff because it needed that buff. And then its ultimate, yeah, unless you had 3 fire tornadoes hitting the same person, it really didn't do as much as it should have. The Iron Man one's interesting. I'm not really quite sure about that one because it's getting complicated with all these damage outputs and the stage 1s and stage 2s and the differences, but it looks like direct damage is getting a nerf and kind of the splash damage is getting a buff, which I guess is okay, but I feel like it would be better if the direct damage was a buff and the indirect damage was a nerf, because I feel like aiming, it should be a little bit more precise. The Cloak and Dagger, I'm fine with. I'm fine with it. They focus more on the healing part and giving her a little bit more healing output, but not too much, because we want like breaks in that so we can actually eliminate heroes, but we'll see how well this actually happens with everything giving it more time after these. I'm excited to see what season 2 is going to bring, but it should be interesting to see what all this is going to be about. All right, moving on to Warhammer 40k Space Marine 3 is officially announced to be in development with collaboration with Games Workshop. Development for Space Marines 2 has officially begun. However, no platform or release window has been disclosed yet. And if this is like really early, yeah, you don't expect much from this. Focus on Warhammer Space Marine 2. The developers are continuing to support Space Marine 2 with updates and new content in the coming years. Space Marine 3 will expand on the series, featuring an immersive single-player campaign, a multiplayer mode, innovations aimed at redefining standards for third-person action games, and spectacular large-scale battles to elevate the gameplay experience. The goals for the development is the game will incorporate lessons learned from Space Marine 2 and build on its success to deliver a large, more ambitious experience. It is described as a true love letter for Warhammer 40k universe, and then Focus Entertainment emphasizes raising the genre standard, delivering a significant upgrade in action game quality. Saber Interactive views the project as an opportunity to exceed the expectation of the fan base and further expand the franchise. So I'm excited for this because they did a really great job. They hit it out of the park with Space Marine 2, which the original Space Marine was actually created by Relic, which they didn't do the second one. It went over to Saber. So I'm actually really excited to see what they do with it. It was a really fun game. They actually really captured the feel of the Warhammer 40K series, and they didn't make it any woke whatsoever. It was high testosterone, brooding type of game that anybody that loves this type of games would actually enjoy. The multiplayer was good too. All right, moving on to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 1.2 update highlights. So this finally introduces official modding support through Steam Workshop. You could argue it through Nexus Mods, but we all know what Nexus Mod is, just a woke progressive hellhole that won't allow you to actually create mods that you actually want if it doesn't fit within its paradigm. Even though they have quoted saying that they're about diversity, it is all crap. They are awful. They are the worst, and we need to find a new spot. Because when if they first did this, they banned the first Spider-Man one where they changed all the pride flags to United States flag, or US flag. That's when I went, I'm done. I'm done with you guys. That's stupid. You shouldn't have meddled at all. There was no point to meddling. It's a single player game. Who cares if someone changes the flags? You're not playing the game. The person that installed the game is playing the game. This has nothing to do with you. Anyways, moving on. Players now have tools to modify over 300 game elements, including UI, combat mechanics, RPG elements, and AI behavior. Steam Workshop support simplifies finding, installing, and managing mods for the game, offering more flexibility for mod makers and more nudes, because that's what most of it's going to be about, nudes. Anyways, game modification possibilities. Players can tweak mechanics, expands the game world, and creates entirely new adventures. Examples of mods include character transformation, turning all characters into skeletons, turning chickens into dinosaurs, and adjusting jiggle physics. Patch and additions. The patch introduces over 1,000 fixes and improvements to the game. A barbershop feature lets Henry change hairstyles, which temporarily buffs his charisma. All right. Hardcore mode update. Hardcore mode previously expected in this patch will now release later in the spring, so nothing yet on that one. And then really that's kind of the biggest thing, which I mean is surprising. So basically you could change where you don't have to deal with the gay scene at all, and you could also change the guy, which Nexus Mod again banned, from black to cumin, which is a little bit more historically accurate, because ESG and diversity really did not help that part of Kingdom Come Deliverance, because everybody knows it was come fisted in and it doesn't make any sense at all. But it's good to see that the mod support, so basically players can go in and be like, you know what, I don't like this, we're changing it, and here's a mod to help you change it. Screw you, Nexus Mod, screw you. All right, so I know you're all thinking, man, I really wish I had a gaming AI. Microsoft and Xbox have something for you. Introducing Copilot for Gaming, which features personalized gaming recommendations, seamless game setup and management, coaching to help players overcome in-game challenges, ensure that players remain in control of when and how to interact with it. So I guess no clippy version for gaming, which would be hilarious and frustrating at the same time. Core principles: capacity, adaptability, and personalization. Primary goal is to reduce the time spent on tasks like searching and setup, allowing more time for actual gameplay. Copilot uses natural language to provide situation-specific advice and tips during gameplay, designed to be non-intrusive and activated only when players choose to engage with it. Aims to help players at the right moment, such as when you're stuck on a level or needing strategic advice. Early access via the Xbox Insider program, starting with mobile devices and eventually expanding to other platforms. Player feedback is critical for refining the tool. Over 1,000 titles now support Xbox Play Anywhere. So it's ubiquitous with everything, and this is like the push for more AI into gaming. But to be honest with you, you can just check YouTube. There's so many different like tools and tips and stuff that it's not really needed and have endless possibilities of doing half this stuff. And a lot of times it's let us just figure it out. People are making fun of it because it's like this is just for game journals and journalists. It's probably true, but man, does this just seem really funny. I just don't know. AI is great for a lot of things, but this, let's not get too carried away with it. I'm pretty sure it's going to have its niche, and that's really where it's going to be. It's not going to go anywhere else. And what's the point? Yeah, great. You're not going to make a new Clippy version of Clippy 2.0. You're supposedly non-intrusive, so you're either going to have to push a button or say insert, hey, whatever it's going to actually be called, and then that will probably prompt it to go up. But it's dumb. All right. So there are things happening within the GPU market that are frustrating to a lot of gamers, but let's get in on some of the specific things and I'll kind of give you an overview of what I think about the whole industry itself. So Nvidia released their graphics cards, the 5090, 5080, 5070 Ti, and 5070 in a short span. And so they decided to say, hey, look, we sold more than the 40 series at the same time frame. The issue is that the same time frame with the 40 series was only the 4090. One GPU. You have about four different GPUs in that same time frame, and you're saying we sold more, but the problem is that there was more stock with the 4090 than there is stock with four different SKUs of your GPU. But you're like, but we ship more. Like, okay, but no one can buy your new graphics cards. Nobody, not a single person can buy it. So why are you celebrating this? This is like really dubious, just to be like, look at what we did. And it's like, you didn't really do much. You did a paper launch, like really a paper launch. Shouldn't be excited for that one, especially when it's also just the MSRP is more of a moving target nowadays as well. And everybody's not really happy about that. The 5070 Ti starts at $1,149. The 5080 costs 1,600 plus. And the 5090 listings around $4,500 on eBay because it's the only way you can buy this stuff. I don't think Nvidia, you shouldn't really be doing a victory lap on like how much we've sold, since probably 90% of what you sold went to scalpers anyways. And so no, this is not a victory lap. Really, this is a real, you're going to do this. I know this is a PR little stunt, but this is pretty bad PR stunt. This is like, people are like, yeah, no, you shouldn't really be happy about this. And so they actually did like a time frame of the same amount of GPUs from the 40 series to the 50 series, you would see that the 40 series actually sold more. Plus, this is the time when the 30 series actually had enough stock where it didn't really matter anymore, except when the first time when I was trying to get one, and it was a pain in the ass, just like the 5000 series, to actually get it. That's why when I was thinking about upgrade to the 5000 series, and saw all these things about how there's no stock, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not gonna play in this game anymore. Seriously, Nvidia, figure it out. Like, you guys need to start launching with enough stock. You don't launch with enough stock and you think this actually works. It doesn't work anymore. People are frustrated. People don't care. I understand that 10% of the market is from the GPU side of things, and the rest of it now is from AI. But eventually, that's the AI is going to dry up. It's not going to be as innovative anymore. It's not going to keep on like going at this exponential rate as it is. But gaming is should be looked at as another like really key thing to do. But the unfortunately, that AI market is gobbling up all the GPUs and nobody can actually buy GPUs, which makes it frustrating. Everybody's like, you know what? I'm just gonna not buy any right now. I'm gonna wait out. I'm gonna wait until everything kind of calms down and I can see what's going on. Because frankly, it's frustrating. which compounds it to AMD's graphics cards, which at launch they were actually at MSRP, but now the third party partners, well, they decided to make it more expensive. Now, I understand that the original price was not what it was supposed to be. So AMD changed the original price to be lower than what it actually was. And now third party board providers are like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to what it originally was. Plus, with all the tariffs and all it's going to be hit on us. It's not going to be hit on us. It's going to be 10%. It's going to be 25%. It's going to be this. You have a lot of moving parts, which unfortunately makes it really frustrating to buy something at a supposed price it's supposed to be at. And AMD's like, we highly encourage our partners to actually hit the MSRP, and more partners are like, nah, we're just gonna make it more expensive. Which goes to show you there is pain in tariffs. I'm not against tariffs, but there is some pain in the beginning because you have to build it up. You have to make sure you have the resources and the buildings to actually do it. So there's always pain in the beginning, but I'm more confident that eventually it will come down in price. It eventually will. It's just right now in the initial, like, people are wanting to buy a graphics card and Nvidia is useless with actually giving us graphics cards. So we're going to AMD and maybe Intel, but not so much Intel because, I mean, it's Intel and they just started to do GPUs and I haven't really thought about them so much. But then there's AMD, which has a kind of a rocky relationship with GPUs. A lot of times isn't that great or is not great or is great or does some great things here, but not great things there, is always behind on Nvidia. But this time they actually caught up with FSR4, but their output on this is okay with hitting with the 5070 Ti and the 9070 XT. It's okay. It's not okay. It trades back and forth. Okay. Well, how about the content creation side? It's not great. And so I guess we're just going to keep my 3090 for a while because it still works. I'm not spending that much money on eBay for a graphics card that is way overpriced. And then people just have to buy it, which actually helps the scalpers go, I should buy more. And then you get this lovely, lovely issue of overpriced graphics cards. So there's two issues here. One is, yes, the uncertainty of the market, which is, are the tariffs? Are there not? Are there going to be tariffs eventually? Are there not? AMD changing their pricing schemes, and then Nvidia just not making enough GPUs for the market, and people just willing to buy whatever they can get, which is another dumb thing to do because you should just never buy it just to buy it, and just hurts everything in general. So there's a hodgepodge of things that are going on that some of them just need to quit it. Us, for example, a lot of you just need to stop buying it from eBay. Stop it. This is one of the main reasons why it's so expensive too. The low stock from Nvidia, that really needs to stop too, but I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon because AI is just a moneymaker. And so they prioritize their moneymaker over what is not as much of a moneymaker, which is unfortunately the gaming sector. And then we have AMD and Intel. It's all right. They still need to do a lot better, and they still need to actually have a flagship one. And then AMD, well, you're finally competing in some areas. That's good. But content creation's seriously lacking. Here we at. Us not really happy about what's actually in the current market, and AMD trying its best, and Nvidia not caring, and everybody forgetting about Intel because who really cares? So we'll see. I'm not really that excited for it, but we'll see what the market drags up. But I'm telling you, it's painful everywhere. The only, I think, saving grace right now is that Steam has a summer sale right now, or spring sale, one of those sales, but it has a huge sale going on right now. So I guess you could drown it in old games that you can actually play for cheap. That's probably the best missiles I can give you until things improve, which doesn't look like it's improving anytime soon. But what do you think? Do you think it's going to improve anytime soon? Do you think I'm way off? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for listening to Digital Coffee Gaming Brew. I really do appreciate it. And join us as we talk about what's going on in the gaming industry. And please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast. And you have to have a 5-star review. Just help with it. Let me know how I'm doing. And join me next week as talk about what's going on in the gaming industry. All right, guys, stay safe. Get to playing the games you want. Be patient about the GPUs that you want. And see you next week. Later.